Downtown Detroit, police are investigating the death of two young children at Greektown Casino.
The children were found frozen to death inside a van where the family was allegedly living. And Fox 2's Jessica Dupnack joining us live with more on this really devastating story. Jessica, how were they found? What happened here?
Well, Taryn and Roop, I got the call earlier this afternoon, and when DPD told me what happened, I really couldn't believe it. What we do know happened is that there was a mother and her 5 children ranging from age 2 to 13 living out of a van around 1 o'clock early this morning. They pulled into the Hollywood Casino at Greektown, went up to the 9th floor in that van. Now, either the car died or ran out of gas, and there was no heat in the car. Now, around noon today, that mom started to noticed that one of the children, the 2-year-old, was unresponsive, called another family member, because remember, the car didn't start, had that family member bring the child then to Children's Hospital. Then a short time later, realized the 9-year-old also was unresponsive, called that same family member to come get that child, brought that child to Children's Hospital, where they were both pronounced dead. Now, we did just talk to Detroit police a short time ago. They'll recap what happened and give us a little more information. Take a listen.
The mother inside the van, along with 5 children, noticed that one of the children wasn't breathing, and she called family to come help, to convey to Children's Hospital. Sad, very sad, especially as a father. I just can't imagine what the family is feeling. I wish that hadn't have happened.
An incredibly sad situation that should not have happened. Now, the mother of those 5 children was detained by Detroit police. They used the word detained, not arrested. When I asked the captain there if this would be investigated as a criminal situation, he said absolutely it has to. Now, there's other 3 children, again, ranging in age from about 5 years old to 13 years old. They are now with Children's Protective Services. They were checked out medically and appear to be okay. But again, that 2- and 9-year-old froze to death inside of the parking garage at Hollywood Casino at Greektown. We've got a lot more to follow on this story tonight, including some information on what you can do if you find yourself in this situation. Stay with us. We'll check in again later at 6. For now, reporting live downtown Detroit, Jessica Dupnack, Fox 2 News.
So my wife's actually made me aware of this case a couple days ago. She sent it to me, and I watched the news article, the news clipping. The one that I saw was different from this one, and it had a little less information because at the time it was fresh. They were still gathering evidence. They were still gathering the clues as to what happened. They were still gathering information from the mom, etc. So there wasn't a ton of information available at that time. But then it was just a peculiar case to me, and I said, I'm going to wait. Y'all know I like to wait until I have more details, at the very least, a wide array of details, so that I can be able to talk about it in full context, because I like to speak when I have full context of things, you know. I have 2 more clips that I want y'all to see, so y'all can see exactly what it is that I saw. And then you can ask yourselves if this mother did everything, if you think this mother did everything in her power to keep her children from dying of literally freezing to death. You be the judge.
The mother of 2 children who likely died from hypothermia in a car is speaking out tonight. Her 9-year-old son and 2-year-old daughter were found unresponsive after spending the night in the Hollywood Casino parking garage.
Over the past 24 hours, questions have been raised about why the family didn't get help. During a press conference today, Mayor Mike Duggan revealed that family called the city in November, but nothing was done.
For whatever reason, this wasn't deemed an emergency that caused an outreach worker to visit the family.
Tonight I sat down with that mother. She is 29-year-old Tatiana Williams. She told me she and her 4 children had been living in their van for the past 3 months.
They said it was carbon monoxide. Or I don't know what it is. There's so many stories going around. I haven't even got the right story for my own kids. But one thing I do know is they could never be cold in that car, because I keep gas in that car. I do what I got to do to keep them kids with heat. So it's not hypothermia. My kids could have never froze to death. But I called everybody. I called out of state. I called different cities. I called Detroit. I got on the CAM list. I've been on the CAM list for a long time. Nobody. Every time I call, they say it's no shelter, no bed. I thought I was doing the right thing. I tried to keep them warm at night. That's it. I was just trying to keep them warm. Nobody helped me. It took me to lose 2 of my kids to get this help. I don't feel good about it.
If you ever find yourself without shelter, there are resources for you. Just scan the QR code on your screen to be taken to clickondetroit.com. We've posted those resources there. Also, everything we've learned so far about this horror.
Now, news. Now, come on now. Now, how the hell are they going to scan QR codes if they don't even have houses to live in? They probably ain't got no phones. They probably ain't got no cell phones either. How the hell are they going to scan a QR code or even find out how to scan a QR? Anyway, let's move on. So I want to bring up the full video before we get off into this, because there's a lot of things she said that just don't add up for me, y'all. And I understand that, a lot of people want to take pity on this woman, and rightfully so. She lost 2 of her children, and for any parent, man or woman, that is just a travesty and a horrible thing that I do not ever want to experience. So I've seen it up close, firsthand. A parent, my mother, lose a child, and it is just absolutely wrecking. It wrecks you, right? So I never want anybody, and I would never wish that on my worst enemy. But we do have to, again, hold people accountable, and we do have to call into question the things that people do and the things that they say. This does not absolve you, the fact that you lost 2 children, from accountability. And I know a lot of people are going to take sympathy on her and say, well, it's too late now. Well, what's the point? Well, the point is that we can keep other people from making these same mistakes. We can solve for X if we start at the root of the problem. One more video, y'all.
Yesterday, I woke them up to wake them up from school. My son wasn't moving. And I kept saying, Fetty, please get up. Please. Please, for me, just get up. Don't do this to me. And I tried to give him CPR because I'm a senior and a medical assistant. I've been working there since I was 17. I tried to give him CPR and I was just giving him CPR. I just kept saying, Fetty, don't leave me. Don't leave me, please. I saw the green and brown stuff come out of his mouth. I instantly rushed him to the hospital. I was yelling out the window, stop, stop, stop. We got to get through traffic. My baby, he's dying. We get to the hospital. I told valet, can you go get some help? He took too long, so I got out the car to get help. They came to the car, instantly grabbed my baby on his head, get a stretcher. He's not breathing. Help. Cold blue. Everybody tried. I didn't even know my 2-year-old was dying. I was in it with my 9-year-old. And they brought her in right after they pronounced him dead. And my mama came to me, she said, Yaya. That's what we call her, but her name is Amelia. We just call her Yaya. And they said she wasn't breathing. I asked everybody for help. I called out of state. I called cities I didn't know. I called cities people asked me to call. I even asked Detroit. I've been on CAM list for the longest. Everybody now wants to help. After I lost 2 kids, I've been asked for help. I feel like it wasn't their time. I did everything I was supposed to do. They had everything.
All right. First of all, let's start there. You didn't do everything you were supposed to do. And it's unfortunate that while she's sitting there talking about how Everyone else failed her. How she made calls around the city, she made calls to shelters, she made calls here, she made calls there. While I do agree that if there were calls made to get help for her and her children, that on some level, these other institutions that were put in place to help mothers like her, single mothers like her, while I do admit that they failed her on some level, the first person that failed them kids is her. You was the first one. The first failure came at your hands. So before we try to put the blame on everybody else, put the blame off on other institutions, put the blame off on shelters, put the blame off on caretakers, put the blame off on caseworkers. Before we assign blame to them, we have to first assign blame, and the majority of the blame and the bulk of the blame, to you. You were the parent, the mother of these kids. It's your job above all others to protect them babies. It starts with you. And even in this moment, she's not taking accountability for it. She sat there in front of the news and just told them that they're lying. They didn't die of hypothermia. That's what she said. She said, my kids couldn't have frozen to death. So who lying then? You saying the coroner is lying? Every news media and outlet is just lying on you and your kids then. Talking about they died of carbon monoxide poisoning. Listen, the second question that we have to ask, it says she has 5 children, y'all. It says it right here. I'm going to read it. A 2-year-old girl and a 9-year-old boy were not breathing when their mother, Tatiana Williams, said she tried waking them up on Monday. Police said Williams, her mother, and 5 children were sleeping at the parking garage at Hollywood Casino Hotel at Greektown. Now, whether she had 4 or 5, it really doesn't matter here because the sentiment is the same. And this happened here in Detroit, where I'm from, my city. So you took these kids, you drove them to the casino, and you left them there in the car and disappeared for hours. We haven't even gotten any details as to where she was during that time because it had to be a long period of time. But let's go back to my case in point here. Why do you have 5 children that you cannot take care of? One of the first things I asked my wife when she brought this to me, and was telling me, she was breaking the story down to me and telling me about what happened. And she said, well, she has 4 kids, 4 or 5 kids. And I said, why does she have 4 kids? See, if you can't even afford to take care of yourself, there is no way in God's green earth that you should be having more kids. We can call 1 kid a mistake, but 4, 5, 4 and 5 kids is on purpose. And at that point, you are not fit. You are not fit to be a mother because you cannot take care of them. Instead of going to a police station, running in there saying, listen, I'm about to drop these kids off in here because I don't have nowhere else for them to go. It's freezing outside. I have nowhere to go. No shelter would take me. I'm leaving them here. Yes, you would have lost them. Yes, they would have went into the system. Yes, absolutely they would have. Yep, chances are they would have been entered into the system. But I ask you, is that better than freezing to death? Don't we all think that that's better than free? We've all heard horror stories about kids entering into the system. I'm well aware. But even still, the alternative was them freezing to death. And you are sitting up here continuing to have kids. Not 1, not 2, not 3, You are sitting up here having multiple children, no father in sight. You spread your legs and allowed some dude, some nigga somewhere, to give you not one, not two, 4 or 5 different children that you knew good and damn well that you weren't capable of taking care of. I'm sorry. We cannot absolve you. You carry the most blame. And unfortunately, instead of looking in the mirror and realizing that the majority of this falls on you, she has decided to place blame elsewhere on everybody else. In her mind, everybody else failed her. That's the sad, unfortunate part. And everybody in the comments that feels sorry for her, I get it. But at the same time, where the fuck is the accountability? You failed these kids. At some point, you got to question why it is that you keep popping out babies that you can't afford to fucking take care of. You can't feed them, clothe them, and make sure that they're safe and warm because you ain't got a roof to put over their heads. And you having kids. She said that the kid was 2 years old. You just had this baby. 2 years. No father in sight. It starts with you. Can't nobody force you to have kids. You had them. You made a conscious decision at some point to have these kids, all of them. You made a conscious decision. I am interested to see what other details come out about this because I want to know where the hell she went during the entire time that these kids were in the car freezing to death and why she's lying to the cameras, telling them that they didn't freeze to death, that there was heat in the car. They said it wouldn't even start up. News said that. Said the car wouldn't start because they ain't had no gas in it. But yeah, she sat there and told everybody and told the entire world, I keep gas in the car. How the hell you do then? Who? Somebody lying. Somebody lying. So the news line, they're just making up going with whatever story they want to now. Listen, I know the news is sensational, but this would be a bit much, don't you think? Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments about this incredibly ridiculous and sad story. I will stay glued to this just so I can see what other details come out. She will be prosecuted, and she needs to be. And more likely that her children, the rest of these kids, will be taken away from her. But it's obvious at this point that they need to be. And it's sad and unfortunate, but it's what needs to happen because at this point, it's about the children. I don't care nothing about her feelings. The children come first. And unfortunately, 2 of them aren't here anymore because you didn't think about them first. So while everybody is crying tears for her and praying for her, pray for these dead kids. I'll see y'all in the next one.